Here we are on LDS.org, and it's Church History section. This one says, The First Vision, a narrative from Joseph Smith's accounts. In case you don't realize, the reason we've got so many different pages about the first vision is because people are finding out now, more than ever, that the story that they heard, that how lovely was the morning in the sacred grove and Joseph Smith was visited by Heavenly Father and Jesus, is not the story that he was telling during most of his lifetime. And that's created a problem for the church. Joseph Smith told numerous stories about that, but not for a long time after it supposedly happened. So we've got big problems with that account because it's not historically accurate. He's got stuff in it that isn't true. Well, probably the whole thing isn't true is what you'll notice when you really see the facts. But he says his mom and brothers and sisters joined the Presbyterian Church before he had his vision. That would have been like 1819 for an 1820 vision, because they had those summer camp meetings in the summer for the revivals, and he went through the winter into the spring before he says he had this vision. Anyway, they joined that church in 1824 after Alvin, Joseph's oldest brother, died, and they started looking for a church. They were not church-going people till that time, from anything I've been able to see. And there are about 9 different versions of this first vision that Joseph Smith eventually started telling. Everybody knew about the angel Nephi and the gold plates, and later, of course, Orson Pratt changed that called him the angel Moroni after Joseph Smith was dead. And when we look at these stories, they are different. Sometimes it's just the Lord, sometimes it's an angel, sometimes it's in his room, sometimes it's in the woods, sometimes he's 15, sometimes he's 16 or 17, sometimes he's 14. You can't keep the story straight. It's an angel, it's a bunch of angels, and Jesus is just Jesus. And finally, we get to the vision that we now have. So, 1842 is that's when that came out. And his family doesn't know about this. And you'll hear, Now Zeezrom said unto him, Is the Son of God the very eternal Father? And Amulek said unto him, Yea, he is the very eternal Father of heaven and of earth. Okay, and he shall come into the world to redeem his people. Okay, Ether 3:14. Behold, I am Jesus Christ. I am the Father and the Son. Okay, anyway. Here we go again. He will not believe me, will not believe the Father who sent me. For behold, I am the Father, I am the light, and I am the life, and I am the truth of the world. Okay, well, so there's just a few of them. Plus, there's a bunch in the Book of Mormon before they changed it, saying he's the very eternal Father. And even in the Joseph Smith translation of the Bible, Luke chapter 10, verse 22, is it? Yeah, he says, in the JST says, the Son reveals that he is the Father, and the Father is the Son. And there's other ones too, but anyway, enough of that. Jesus and the Father were one person in Joseph Smith's teachings and in the Book of Mormon, until about the time that he introduced that new first vision story. For those gospel topic essays, in case you don't know about them, here's how you get to them. You go down to the bottom, site map, you click on that topic, you can go into that and still leave days. Mother in heaven, race and the priesthood, that has a chart to compare first vision accounts here. It's got a lot of blanks in it because he didn't tell the same story every time. Here's age. Said he was 16. Here, no, he starts off 15, then they change it to 17. Here he's 14 or 15. Okay, did he struggle with the devil? Okay, doesn't even mention it. Doesn't mention it 3 out of the 6 times. Okay, there's a pillar of light a couple of times. Sins are forgiven a couple of times. You know, who's there? Is Jesus, the Lord's there. Nobody even mentioned angels. Another spot on ldsorg here. We've got the church history and the fullness of time student manual. Okay, this one, like I said, they pretend that it's, you know, that the 1821 is correct. And they ignore the other ones and hope you don't know about them. And that's what the other page is for, dealing with that. If you found out that there's some historical problems. So, yeah, they start off here, you know, saying how spiritual darkness covered the earth, and then Gordon Hinckley says, but the glorious first vision happened, and basically everything we know and believe about the church is, you know, depending on this being true. So, and then he says, basically, if this is true, you can believe everything else, and then, so, believe everything, come to church, pay your tithing, do everything we say. So it starts kind of basically going mostly with the, so it's going on the 1820 version, written in 1838, shared with the saints in 1842. So yeah, nobody knew about this. When you joined the church, when, you know, in the 1830s and 1840s even mostly, you'd never heard of this. You know, you were joining the gold plate story, not on this first vision stuff at all. Okay, so here, you know, it's talking about the Baptists and Methodists, Presbyterians are getting everybody excited, as if this is like in 1819, you know, before his, because it wouldn't have been happening in the winter, so it obviously happened this summer. Joseph Smith's birthday's, you know, in the winter. They don't have camp meetings in the snow. It doesn't happen. This is his mom and some siblings joined the Presbyterian Church, and we'll go on to show that that was an 1824 occurrence after Alvin's death. So that's falsified here. It mentions Jesus forbids them to join any of the other churches. Don't go after them. These guys are, you know, they're all an abomination. All their creeds are an abomination. They're all corrupt. So why does he instantly go after, you know, started hanging out with a Methodist minister, supposedly tell him the story, and then he's super persecuted? Doesn't make any sense, does it? It says he tells his family members about the vision. It says William affirmed we all had the most implicit confidence in what he said. He was a truthful boy. And then they reference it. They got a footnote down here. When you go to the footnote, there's no link, but I looked it up, and then we go to that, and that's his brother William talking, and everything he talks about happens in 1823. So they're acting like this is, you know, affirming an 1820 vision, but it's really a fake reference because it doesn't do anything to affirm 1820. It's all about 1823. William was an apostle. He never heard of an 1820 vision. After the brief introduction, the narrative begins in 1823 instead of 1820. About the year 1823, there was a revival of religion in that region, and Joseph was one of several hopeful converts. That's his brother starting off on this. He goes on to say, when he prayed, he says, the glory of the Lord filled the chamber with a dazzling light, and a glorious angel appeared unto him. And he says he talked to his dad in the field next day. So that's like the angel Moroni vision. But that's what William thinks was his first vision. He's his brother, and he's an apostle here when he's sharing this. That's right. William was an apostle, and he never knew about the first vision. Yeah, William's sharing this in a different rendition. He says, after he had other similar visions, in one of which the existence of certain metallic plates was revealed to him, and their location described about 3 miles off in pasture ground. Pasture ground. Does that sound like the hill Cumorah? Okay. And he goes on. Next day he went to the spot and they appeared like gold. So once again, it's kind of an angel Moroni thing, but no, it's in a pasture this time. Here he's telling somebody else. In 1822 and 1823, the people in our neighborhood were very much stirred up with regard to religious matters by the preachings of Mr. Lane, an elder of the Methodist Church and celebrated throughout the country as a great revival preacher. So because of this revival going on, He says Joseph went into the woods to pray, falling on his knees, called for a long time upon the Lord for wisdom and knowledge. What happened to the devil attacking him immediately? While he engaged in prayer, a light appeared in the heavens and descended until it rested on the trees where he was. It appeared like fire, but to his great astonishment it did not burn the trees. An angel then appeared to him and conversed with him upon many subjects, many things. Told him none of the sects were right. If he was faithful in keeping the commandments, he should receive the true way, would be known to him, and his sins were forgiven. Okay. Just an angel appeared and fire didn't burn the trees. Here it says, my mother attended those meetings, and eventually she persuaded them, the siblings, to attend the meetings. Finally, she winds up joining the Presbyterians with several of the children. Father wouldn't join because he was angry at the minister in the 1823 funeral for Alvin, when the minister basically said he was going to hell. Here, published in the Messenger and Advocate by Oliver Cowdery, concerning when the Moronic vision happened. He says, on the evening of the 21st September 1823, Joseph Smith had once claimed that he was in his bedroom while seeking the all-important information if a supreme being did exist, and to have an assurance that he was accepted of him. If he'd seen God and Jesus already in 1820, he wouldn't be wondering if a supreme being existed now, would he? Here's underlined where Joseph Smith says he was persecuted greatly. My telling this story excited a great deal of prejudice against me among professors of religion, cause of great persecution, and continued to increase. Men of high standing took sufficient notice to revile against me. Bitter persecution was common among, they all united to persecute me. Strange or not, that's what happened. I was hated and persecuted for saying I'd seen the vision. Okay. All manner of reviling and evil speaking against me. So, sounds like he wasn't too popular. Of course, nothing in history seems to go along with this. And then his mom goes out with the children to go to church to seek some kind of comfort after Alvin dies. How would they seek comfort with all these people that hated and reviled a member of their family and persecuted her other son? Does that really sound like it makes any sense that was actually happening? It said Jesus told him not to go after these other religionists, and that's the first thing that he does. Plus later he joins the Methodist Sunday School in 1828, something like that, but he gets kicked out. Maybe it was 1826. Kicked out for being a practicing necromancer. So none of these things go along with the story that we've got here, and we can see that the facts are skewed, and they know what the facts are, so it doesn't seem to be that they're doing this on accident. They've got all this material. Here's guys throwing him out of the Methodist Church here in 1828. Regarding Mr. Smith joining the Methodist Episcopal Church, ME Church, Messrs. Codwell and I, blah, 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 blah. The facts are these. I, with Joshua McCune, a local preacher at the time, June 1828, heard Saturday that Joe Smith had joined the church on Wednesday, and we thought it was a disgrace to the church to have a practicing necromancer, a dealer in enchantments, and leading ghosts in it. So we went and had a talk with him on Sunday and kicked him out. That was in 1828, yet here Joseph Smith says in October of 1825 he starts digging for old Josiah Stoll, who lived like 150 miles from him, but he'd heard of him because of his son, maybe, of the great seer Joseph Smith. He says he convinced him after a month to stop digging. Hence arose the very prevalent story of mine having been a money digger. Well, that's not at all accurate. He was the leader of the party. That's how he met Emma Hale. He was staying at the Hale's house, far from home, leading the party because he was the scryer, the seer with the rock and the hat.